Okay, so apparently we are going to be using YouTube today because Facebook is acting up. Um, you know, I spent a long time studying international relations, politics, history. Studied it in university. When I started having problems from basically upsetting the wrong people in my own existence, I delved even further into corruption within our systems and these great and free lands in which we live. Um, I wanted also to say, I've lived in Asia, I've traveled in Asia, I've lived in China, I've taught in China, um, and I wanted to kind of have a quick discussion about why I'm not so terribly upset about the loss of liberties and the loss of freedoms that are clearly taking place with this whole COVID-19 thing. We have, problems, and we've had them for a long time. And all you have to do is look at incidents like the Gulf of Tonkin incident, which we now know was total bullshit and intentionally fabricated. You can look at Pearl Harbor, which was allowed to happen to manipulate political will within the United States, and look at 9/11 and the response to it. And people are like, oh, here we go, the conspiracy theorist. But here's the thing. You don't even have to research any of this stuff, okay? You don't have to research 9/11. You don't have to research the Gulf of Tonkin incident. You don't have to start looking at, declassified CIA documents. You don't have to do any of that stuff. All you have to do is look at the policy shifts and changes and agendas that get pushed after these events. So there's a great book by Naomi Klein called Disaster Capitalism. And basically, within crisis, there's opportunity. After Hurricane Katrina, charter schools and private education, private corporate education went rampant in Louisiana because there was opportunity. In Thailand, after the tsunami hit, all of the fishing villages that got washed away got replaced by high-rise hotels on the beach. I hate to say it, folks, but capitalism is about striking while the iron's hot and taking advantage. And if that happens through a pandemic, or if that happens through a tsunami, or if that happens through a hurricane, so be it. If you are placed with money at that time when that happens, you have an opportunity. And the game of capitalism, global capitalism at this point, dictates that you would be stupid not to take advantage. Well, if that's true for the economic system, why would it be any less true for the political system? Why would it be any less true for any system? Any form of governance from local all the way up to federal? Why would it not be an opportunity to push through some agendas like restriction of speech online? Hey, go ahead and say something they don't want you to say about COVID-19 right now on YouTube. Contradict the World Health Organization that, a month ago was telling us we don't need masks, and was saying that person-to-person transmission of COVID-19 was unlikely, hadn't happened, or was impossible, whatever the storyline was. Compare that to what they're saying now. But we're not even allowed to discuss it and contradict anything they say. Well, that's your line in the sand. And then the more you want to repress people, you just keep moving that line in the sand. And I can assure you, I've lived in China and I've seen their internet access and I've seen what they have restricted. And, it's just a hop, skip, and a jump away to say, okay, well, you can't have access to these particular websites because they're spewing dangerous information or disinformation, and we deem them dangerous. Why not take the whole thing down? And then congratulations, you've got China's free speech and exchange of information policy implemented in the rest of the Western world. So all I'm saying is, you can call all of us folk who sit here and watch all of this, who watched the Patriot Act pass, both 1 and 2, after 9/11 and had it used as an excuse. We sat there and watched in horror. Those of us who saw what it could be used and abused for. Cut to Edward Snowden 10 years later, flamed Russia and giving us all documents from the NSA saying, yeah, they're listening in on your phone calls, they're gathering mass data, they're collecting every phone call, every email, just in case they need it later, just in case you piss off the wrong person, just in case you dump the wrong guy or the wrong girl or whatever the fuck it is. It's mission creep. It's almost inevitable. So whether you want to believe it's a giant conspiracy or not, whether you want to think that the fact that all of society and basically the entire foundation of the United States of America is not built on a conspiracy, which it was. People actually dressed up in costumes and threw tea into a bay to help precipitate a confrontation. Whether you want to believe that these things happen or not is irrelevant. Just look at what agendas get pushed through with these things used as an excuse. You can't say very specific things. I watched a YouTube executive get interviewed this morning on, I can't remember, but the clip was on Tucker Carlson, and she was saying, you can't discuss vitamin C being used to help treat coronavirus. Well, guess what's good for your immune system, folks, is vitamin C. I'm not saying it's going to stop coronavirus or, save you, but it is good for your immune system, as is zinc, as is magnesium, as is vitamin D. So, these are dangerous times. Anytime that people are scared, it's like Benjamin Franklin said, those who would give up freedom for security deserve neither. Take a look around, or if you're willing to give up a bunch of freedom indefinitely to be protected from something that almost inevitably looks like it's going to come down to herd immunity eventually anyway. And there are doctors out there with serious questions about how all of this is being run and dealt with and reacted to. And, I can tell you from personal experience, there is corruption within the medical community. I've had personal vendettas played out in some places against me through medical and dental abuses. If you're a teacher in a certain community and you decide you don't want to be a teacher in that community anymore and you're going to leave, or you decide to leave town, you pop over to the dentist or you pop into the doctor or something. Your health insurance runs through your employer. Your ex-employer may take exception. Maybe they make a couple of phone calls. Maybe they know some cops. And you can say whatever kind of stuff you want, but I know firsthand from experience that this stuff happens. So don't think that any of these, giant institutions, be it education, be it healthcare, be it policing or anything, none of them are immune to corruption. And as long as we have corruption, you're going to have people that are going to take advantage of the ability to repress the rights of others. So that's my giant spiel and all that. This is on YouTube. I'm going to post it up also on Facebook. For some reason, Facebook Live wasn't working so great today. But yeah, that's my spiel. And, if anybody wants to discuss, debate any of this with me, I'm happy to go through the historical proofs of insane things that you probably don't know that your government's done before, and crazy things that are being, and if it's being done at the very top, it's being done probably at all the rest of the levels. But yeah, I'm happy to discuss all the crazy shit that's happened in this world, all the media manipulations, especially in mainstream media, which is basically controlled by two people at this point. Hit me up. And, I say every day, and the reason I'm not doing more research every single day from morning till night and railing about this online and screaming for people to take up arms and all the rest of it, and this is going to sound horrible and really selfish, but the reality is my life's already ruined. I'm 43 now. I've filed asylum in different countries, traveled the entire world trying to find some kind of peace and tranquility from the nightmare SJW radical justice, social warrior onslaught bullshit that I've had to deal with now since I was about 27. And I gotta tell you, I pretty much think it's already a loss anyway. I think the fact that you've got the internet, period, where nutters can find other nutters and organize just proves to you. I mean, yeah, it's going to be used for good, but it's going to be used for bad as well. So, and I say every single day, and this is the most important thing to me, my life is kind of wrecked already, but at least I don't have children. And that's deep coming from somebody who used to be a teacher. And I don't necessarily believe that in all places, but I think there are places that are salvageable. I think there are places that have pretty much managed to keep a little bit of sanity and not let emotion overrun and overtake everything. But over here, I think it would be a difficult thing for reason to win the day, and logic and facts and history and presentations of arguments, because I've heard some of the most articulate and brilliant arguments presented, and in the end, those people just get shouted down with people who are concerned about their feelings, and the feelings, not even the feelings of all others, just the feelings of people who agree with them specifically. And as long as that's the recipe that everybody's cooking with, ladies and gentlemen, you pretty much stuck a fork in democracy, and it was done a long time ago anyway. So the cultural shift just preceded the political shift, and now this is just kind of making it official. You've got people going around COVID-19 shaming and all this other crazy shit, and it's to be expected given the times we live in, and given how acceptable it is to be an asshole to anybody who upsets or offends you or whatever, and then get online and find a bunch of your homies to help be an asshole. I mean, stuff's acceptable, and it's, social justice is just a step away from being regular legal justice. I mean, if not worse. So what's the difference? This is just official policy restraining you and restraining your thoughts and restraining your rights and what you're allowed to express and not express and think and not think. It's just becoming official now. They slowly conditioned you. Mainstream media has been involved in culture wars forever. This is just a culture wars being made official in one way or another. Whether you want to say it's a giant intentional conspiracy or whatever or not, it's what's actually happening. So I'm going to shut up now. That's enough of me ranting about that. But that, during a time where, I've been very politically active before, as far as debate and discussion, during elections, et cetera, trying to push things in what I thought would be a better, more functional direction to try and save freedom of expression, openness, general safety out in public for people who hold controversial opinions or beliefs or ideals or ideologies or whatever. And even being an atheist, I defend people's right to believe whatever they believe as long as they understand it ends at the tip of their nose. But as somebody who's been out there fighting that war for a long time, I've been particularly quiet, and these reasons are why. And I hate to say it, but George Carlin said it best. Everybody's got a phone that flips pancakes now, and they got bought off with gadgets, and people just, at a certain point, they just want to go to their shitty job that they hate, come home, close the door, turn on whatever TV or Netflix they want to watch, and just be left the fuck alone. And as a teacher, I can tell you, you see the outcome of that in the classroom too. These people have kids, these kids come to school, and you can tell that they are so completely neglected, spiritually, emotionally, and psychologically at home, by parents that just can barely cope with even putting food on the table. So it's only been getting worse for decades. Yeah. So, it's I think we passed the peak of what capitalism can provide in some places. Other places are just starting to head up that hill, getting a middle class developed. In Asia, places that have been fed by global capitalism, well, know that there is a downside to that slope, to that peak. There's, you go up, and then it comes back down, because it becomes about scraping the bottom of the cookie jar for pennies per profit, because you've always got to keep growing. Capitalism is a model of infinite growth on finite resources, which was never going to work. So, yeah. if anything, if people are smart, they will take this opportunity to come together and rethink the entire model um, of how everything has been allowed to function economically, specifically over in this part of the world. Because in the end, I don't know if you've watched Cloud Atlas, but it's a possibility. It could be a very ugly and dystopian reality, and I think we're kind of there now. The question is, how much of that are we going to get back afterwards? Well, if history is anything to judge by, Patriot Act's still in full effect. NSA is still collecting mass data. Your cell phone's not safe. I mean, you know, we've got people patrolling what thoughts you're allowed to express or develop or have. How's any of that? Your education system sold you out a long time ago. You've got the colleges here are nothing but SJW production factories. They're not teaching people how to think. They're indoctrinating them with what to think. You only got to do that for one generation, and then they raise the next generation, and it's done. And you're already a couple of generations deep in that process. So I'd like to say I'm an optimist, but I'll say it again. That's what I'm going to close on. I'm glad I never had any kids. I just want to bring some sunshine to your day. I'm sorry.